Hey, what's going on, everybody? I just want, I just want, I'm having trouble understanding something, and I have to kind of take a take a breath. So please excuse me. I want to take a moment to talk about SUNO. SUNO is an artificial intelligence software program that is incredible. It is awesome. I mean, I don't know what's more incredible, the software or the capabilities and brilliance of the people and resources that created it. I mean, the computer programming alone, the machine language that's needed for it, incredible, impeccable. My hat is off to you, Suno. That is just, I am amazed. Amazed. It is so incredible that my heart is breaking. My heart is breaking for the thousands upon thousands of you musicians and music producers who earn their living by creating music. The rug has been pulled from under you. I am literally at a loss of words. You know, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about this, and there are those out there. You know, they're trying to make the best of it. You know, there are people out there on YouTube that say, when I say people, I mean musicians and music creators, who say, you know, they take the attitude of, we got to make the best of it. AI is here. We can't change that. So we, as human music creators, we have to adapt. One gentleman, he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to master this software program because it's here, right? This is the new pen and paper. He said he's going to master it, know it inside and out. This individual, this gentleman, he's been writing music for over 20 years, you know, and now that SUNO is along, he's realized that he does have to change. And the first thing he said was, I'm going to master SUNO, and I am going to level up my abilities so that I can be on par with SUNO, so that I can be as good as SUNO. Bruh. There is no way in the world that a single person can do what SUNO can do, especially all the parameters that surround it. No way. He says, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to master the program so that when somebody has a song idea and they are singing it into their phone, they can text me that idea and I can run it through SUNO, and I can also use what SUNO gives me as ideas, and I can add my own stuff to it. Okay, again, bruh, there's no way that anybody would do that. You know why? For two reasons. One, are you going to do it for free? I don't think so. You're going to charge that individual. You're going to charge that individual for your time and effort to be able to take that voice memo, put it into the computer, into SUNO, And then SUNO will give you a song that you will then tweak it or add something to it. And then you will give the customer, that person, SUNO's song in exchange for money. That's not going to happen, because I know you're not going to do it for free. You're going to charge the customer something. But unless you're going to charge the customer less than $30, which is the monthly subscription to SUNO, unless you're going to charge them less than 30, it's not worthwhile to even bring you into the equation. Why would somebody pay you for something that they can do themselves? Now, before, when you had this, when you have a studio and a setup and everything like that, not everybody has that. And not everybody has invested the decades of time to master the skill and massage in your personal flavor and talent to create a product. So yes, therefore, you are a worthy commodity. But with SUNO, a customer wouldn't pay you anything when they can do it themselves on the phone. So the first reason why that particular individual, I don't believe that particular response of I'm going to level up my game and somebody, I'm going to master this SUNO and still make that part of my workflow as a viable business plan. To me, that is insane. That is not very smart at all, because for $30, they can do it themselves on a platform that they already own. Second reason why that won't work. It takes SUNO 30 seconds to a minute. 30 seconds to a minute. Hell, it takes, in that business model, it takes that potential customer of yours more than 30 seconds or a minute to text you the file, to text you the voice memo. It takes them more time, when they could have used that time themselves to create the product. So for those two reasons, price, everybody has been priced out of the market right now. And time, no human can work that fast. That's why that's not going to hold up in response to this SUNO thing. It's just not going to. I mean, there are some holdouts out there that also say, well, I'm going to use it as inspiration. Okay, you use it as inspiration. Let's say you type in, you do like a 4-bar loop from your sampler or whatever, or you do a Pro Tools stem session or whatever, and you get the idea, you upload it to SUNO. The computer gives you the song. So as a disclaimer, in both of these examples, and the way this works is, the bottom line fact is that you're not creating anything. You're not creating anything. SUNO is doing the creation. You're doing the receiving. So me personally, I have an issue with that. When I create music, I like to be able to own it, in the sense that to be able to say that's from my heart and from my mind, that's me in that song. I didn't go to somebody or something and say, hey, I'm feeling like this, create something. Oh, thank you very much. And then I go around with the world and say, hey, this is me. I created this. No, you didn't. So bottom line is, SUNO is giving a song to anybody who uses it. You're not creating anything. Okay? So let's say you go ahead and you're given the song by Suno and you say, okay, I got the song. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to tweak it. I'm going to go ahead and uh, get the stems. So you get the stems and you add your own flavor to it. Let's say you play an acoustic guitar. You're actually playing an instrument on top of it. So you add a little sprinkle here. And then you say, okay, boom, I created it. No, you didn't. That's like back in the 90s or late 80s, Eddie Murphy did his stand-up, comedy. And he was talking about being a millionaire and married to somebody who wasn't a millionaire. And they say, look, Eddie, we made $7 million and I got a job at 7-Eleven. And I made $500. So now we made $7,500,000. No, we didn't make $7,500,000. You made 500. I made 7 million. So by you adding something to something that you were given does not make it your creation. So getting back to the point. So you go ahead and you work it into your workflow. You go ahead and you upload whatever, be it prompts or be it an idea that you came up with, and then Suno gives you a completed product, or you add more to it to create a complete, finalize what Suno gives you. And you say to yourself, okay, I got this product. Okay. So you got the song. What are you going to do with it? How? It's still something that a consumer has to consume and has to give you currency in exchange for it, right? Because that's ultimately what you're trying to do. You're trying to earn a living. So you made it this far. So you have this. What are you going to do? I know you don't think you're going to take it to a record label, because this is just like one song. And you say to yourself, well, I'll make 50 songs. Because Suno is faster, I can make 50 songs. Oh, excuse me. Let me correct you. Because Suno's faster, it will make me 50 songs. Okay. So it makes you 50 songs. The next piece of the transaction is getting paid for that music. And here's where the problem is again. What makes anyone think that a record label would take that song? Because let me tell you what I believe is going to happen next on the record label end. Record labels might say, you know what? We're going to dramatically stop signing artists, and instead we will hire low-income young people around the world to work remotely. We'll give them the license for Suno, and what they'll do all day is insert prompts into Suno and Dropbox what Suno makes into our Dropbox. And then it'll go from our Dropbox right to Spotify, right to Apple Music, right to Pandora. Now, what's wrong with that model? You got an intern. It wouldn't even surprise me if they don't even pay the interns. What they end up doing is they might even go as far as saying, you know what? You're going to work based on a commission. We'll pay you $1 or X amount of a dollar figure for every X amount of songs that you create in a day. Kind of like when you work from home and you're doing transcriptions of doctor's notes. We'll pay you $50 for every 5 transcription files that you do. We'll pay you $50 for every 50 songs that Suno gives you, and you upload it into Dropbox. So you got that kind of model. but I got 50 songs here. How do I get in? How do I get into that market? How do I get placed in there when I've got a tube this big, like a fire hose, and I'm shooting something like a water gun? You can't. You can't compete with that. You, me, any single human cannot compete with that. There are holdouts that I've watched on YouTube that say, well, what I'll do is I will then master SUNO, and I will just make tracks from SUNO, and I will put them on my own Spotify playlist. Okay. That won't work either. Because remember I told you that the record labels are probably going to shift to start doing their own SUNO creations. So you go and make your own, put them on your own Spotify account. How are you going to compete? You yourself compete against tens to hundreds of thousands of songs that the record labels are now making directly and placing onto Spotify, Pandora. It is here. SUNO AI is here. And my final point is, I don't believe that it's new. Because typically when it comes down to technology, technology this powerful was already being used by huge corporations and governments. And once the corporations got their coffers filled with enough money, once that government contract was met and fulfilled, that company, i.e. SUNO, says, okay, well, we made money off of the corporations and made money off of the government, and they told us we can't tell anybody what this is. But after that contract, they say, okay, you can do with it what you want. Then they turn and they say, what can we do with it now? Let's make it available to the general public. And I believe that's what they've done. They say, hey, we'll make a model. Everybody's used to subscriptions and everybody wants to be famous. Matter of fact, a lot of artists are already using this program and have had their staff sign a non-disclosure agreement saying not to tell anybody we're using AI to make my vocals, to make my music. I mean, some artists are going as far as they will sing into SUNO. SUNO makes a voice print. The artist leaves. And now the person, when they type in the lyrics and everything, SUNO creates a song using the lyrics that the person typed in, but uses the voice of the artist based on the voice print. And then the artist goes out in concert and they're lip singing to their fake voice. It's sad. It is sad. The tool is incredible. I am very impressed by it. It will allow anybody and everybody to be the famous person that they always wanted to be. It's almost like when karaoke came out. Oh, wow, you can remove the vocals and I can now sing on it? Oh, and there's a button here that you can push and make it pitch so I stay in tune with the song. Oh, snap, yeah. That's right, yeah. Okay, I can sing with the best of them now. And here we are. Here we are. It's here. It's here. And some holdouts are saying, "Oh well, we can still be good. It'll still be good because as long as we master this new tool now, people will come to us because if this is gonna be a new standard, they're gonna need somebody to operate it. No, they don't need somebody; they can operate it now because it's not that hard. It's not like Pro Tools or Logic or Ableton. It is a digital audio workstation, but it's been designed from the ground up for someone to use while they're waiting for a bus. See, all the digital audio workstations were created with the mindset of, okay, we need the flexibility and the granularity to be able to create and to do it in a virtual sense of what is done in the real world. We need to be able to take what we do in a physical studio and we need to put it in a computer. Oh, what do we do in a physical studio? We got patch cables. Okay, let's make patch cables. Okay, we got compressors. Okay, let's make compressors. What are the settings on the compressors? Make them exactly the same. So the entire complication and skill and dedication to detail that's required in a physical recording studio, that same thing transferred over to digital audio workstations because they were trying to replicate the physical world in a virtual world. So there is a high concentration of complexity in a digital audio workstation. So although they're inexpensive and readily accessible, not everybody can operate them. The guys who made SUNO were geniuses, because I'm sure they originally approached it. We're making a digital audio workstation. Someone came along, nope. We don't want a digital audio workstation. You know why? Because this is not a software program to create music. We don't want people to create music. Our software is going to make the music for them. So we just need to be able to make a platform so that the user can tell our software what they want. So that's really all the software is. SUNO is just a platform that says, hey, insert in this box, tell me what you want, and I will make it appear. It's not a digital audio workstation. You're not doing and creating in SUNO. You're telling SUNO what you want. To put it in understandable terms, SUNO is more of a tool that is used to learn how to be a producer. Now, and I mean the proper term of what a producer is. A producer is not someone who makes beats. A producer is not someone who makes music. A producer in all industries is somebody who has the big picture and knows what the final product is and moves the pieces and resources and picks the pieces and resources in order to create that product. That's what a producer is. That's what a producer does. In the music world, a good example, Berry Gordy of Motown, great producer. Smokey Robinson, great producer. What Berry Gordy did was he would listen to music that Smokey or whoever songwriter made, and he would listen to it and he would say, hey, stop. Horns, you need to be muted horns. Bass player, don't come in until the second verse. Now take it from the top. And it sounds much better. Okay, wait. Okay, background vocals, I need 5-part harmonies, not 3-part harmonies. Okay, now take it from the top. And that's what SUNO does. You're telling SUNO, hey, I want a 5-part harmony country song with trumpets that are muted. The bass comes in on the second verse, and then there's a breakdown on the third verse from the top. Or in this case, you hit the create button. And then Berry Gordy would take that product And he had staff members, and he would play the product, the record, the product, whatever. And he would say, he would give it the test and say, what do you think of the song? Berry Gordy didn't care. Berry Gordy said, if you had 30 cents to buy your lunch, would you spend that 30 cents to buy this record instead? Would you spend money to buy this record and skip a meal? And if the panel said, yes, I would, that was his threshold of, this is going to make money. This is a commodity. If people said, no, I'm going to go ahead and eat my BLT, I'm going to get my BLT, he would say, okay, back to the drawing board. And just like with SUNO, you go back to SUNO and you say, okay, instead of being major, be in a minor key. I really think that this tool would be great in the academic world. I got my degree at Berkeley University in music production. And if they had a class on how to produce music, they could give you SUNO, right? And the teacher can give you access to various songs, a library of songs. And as your final exam, you are to take that song, put it into SUNO, and to reproduce it, or to tell SUNO to reproduce it. And you have to tell in your final exam, you have to articulate using what you learned throughout the year in this course, why you did what you did. Why did you move the bass to the second verse? Why did you make it only 3 minutes long instead of 3.5 minutes long? Why did you decide to use 5-part harmonies instead of 4-part harmonies? Why did you change time signature from 4/4 to 5/4? All things that were learned during the class that the teacher taught, and then your final exam, you go to SUNO and you put what you taught into practice. To me, I think that's how SUNO will be great. But the world is living off of greed. And someone said, that's nice. Yes, it would work. It would be a nice tool. But you know what? We can make a lot more money. And we can lower our expenditure by no longer paying recording engineers, music producers, songwriters. And we can have this computer software program do it for us. So we're lowering our outgoing money, our costs, and increasing the longevity of incoming money by offering this to more people. And it will be accepted by more people because we're going to dummy it down to 3 clicks on a phone. And everybody, and the owner of the corporation probably realize everybody wants to be a star. Everybody wants to be special. It's almost like a form of exploitation. You realize, hey, they could barely get a job. They barely got food, clothing, and shelter. But if I can give them a false sense of fame, they'll buy that. They'll buy that. Just like why a majority of back in the, for history of record labels, they would go to the low impoverished income parts of town and find people who had talent because they knew that I could tell them anything, whatever would get them out of their current situation, they're going to do. That's what you call exploitation. I'm not saying SUNO is exploiting people. What I'm saying is that there is an element of exploitation in it, in the sense that, hey, anybody's going to pay $30 for this because they're going to feel like they're famous. But the irony is when they pay that $30 and they get that product, that person's not going to have any way of making money off of this product. because the record label is already making that money. The record label is probably going to start paying or commissioning thousands of people remotely around the world to start prompting into SUNO to create music. And the record label is going to go, the process is going to go from those commissioning people. That song that SUNO gives the record label is going to go right to Spotify. And if you notice, there's no artist anywhere in that description. So nobody's going to get paid except for the record label, because the record label is going to say, that's my product. So in closing, SUNO, y'all did an outstanding job. I am so impressed at the technology and capabilities that you have been able to do. It has taken so many resources, so many billions of dollars I can imagine. It is incredible. It's incredible what you have been able to do. And at the same time, it's the ending of a chapter. It is a removing of an entire division of a factory assembly line, where people were on this assembly line so that they could get paid to be fed and to provide for their families. And that is going to be a huge, huge shrinking of an industry. Huge. You know, some people have commented and say, well, the drum machine, when the drum machine was introduced, nothing negative happened. You're absolutely right. You know why? Because there's a difference. The drum machine was an additional instrument, so a musician still had to learn that instrument, and a drummer still was required to play live for a genre of music such as rock, folk, indie. So a drum machine, when it was introduced, it was actually beneficial to the music industry by creating its own genre. Because in the 80s, when the gentleman who created the rhythm machine for organ players, because he couldn't find drummers, and drummers were very expensive to play along with the organist, he was creating these rhythm machines. And when nobody was buying them because they were so expensive, people who did buy them ended up putting them in pawn stores because they had to pay bills. And what ended up happening was the youth in those low income areas, because most pawn shops are in low income areas. That's another form of exploitation. The youth of those low income areas would go in there and they'd see this shiny thing with all these knobs and go, what is this? Pawn shop owners like, I don't know. They call it a drum machine. You know, $40, you can have it. And that's how hip hop, they used what they had. They scrounged together what they had and what they could get to create their own platform for their voice in order to put that out in the world so that they could be heard. So a drum machine was a beautiful augmentation of the music industry. Some people say, oh, well, MIDI. When MIDI came along, people thought, oh, my goodness, you know, that's going to put musicians out of work because that's basically computer. No, it's not. It is a digital form of information, zeros and ones, meaning when you press down on the keyboard, it creates as one, and let go as a zero. And so that's MIDI information that created sequences, and it allows you to create a song that's transportable, that you put different sounds on and everything. But you know what? It still required a human being. Still required a human being. A human being to create the song. And the songs, there were computers out there that made their own songs, like Casio, when they first came on board, they had their own demo songs and everything, but they were so bad sounding, they were like, okay, we don't have to worry about anything here. But this SUNO thing, I mean, you can't, you can barely distinguish AI from real. So MIDI is not a good example of saying, oh, well, MIDI was introduced and everything was fine. Both of those, the drum machine and MIDI, were augmentations to the music industry that allowed people to flourish. It created commerce because companies like Roland, Korg, they made software programs, they made hardware keyboards, so that they even were able to thrive from it. So there were secondary and tertiary industries that grew from the addition of the drum machine and MIDI. With SUNO, it's the reverse. I mean, think about it. One of my favorite music stores is Sweetwater. You go to Sweetwater and you buy an instrument, you buy a widget. Well, if SUNO comes along and the record labels are no longer accepting human, music because it's not as polished, people aren't going to buy as much anymore. So the manufacturing industry is probably going to be negatively impacted by that. And in this day and age where people can't even find a job, the last thing we want to do is take out another industry because those are jobs. People need money to live. They need food, clothing, and shelter. And if stores no longer need to sell keyboards and drum machines because now everybody's just prompting things on their phone and coming out with bangers and hits. I mean, you already have #1 hits that are AI tracks on Spotify. You already have recording artists that are using this, claiming that it's them. The last thing we need is something that's going to lower the industry, lower and take away jobs. That's another thing. That's another reason why it's scary. That's another reason why it's scary. I mean, me personally, I'm not a songwriter. This is fun for me. I'm a recording engineer. So I work in recording studios, or I worked in recording studios. But now I just have a regular blue collar job, So this doesn't affect me. My heart goes out to those who I know it will affect because I worked for a record label, because I worked in a recording studio, because I was a musician for so many years, because I worked on so many albums for so many years. I know that there's going to be a huge, it's equivalent of layoffs. So for you folks who are thinking, oh, well, it's not going to be that bad, it's here. Yeah, it is here. It's a beautiful piece of software. Beautiful, incredible, powerful. But the human piece is going to be the scarce and minimal requirement. Now, to be honest, not one holdout, I gave the examples of folks on YouTube who are saying, oh, well, don't threaten about it because I'm going to master it and then therefore people will call me and I'll just use SUNO as my new DAW, which I just already explained that is going to be, that's not going to be possible. I'm surprised, if anything, if I were a holdout, if music was my source of income and this came along, my response will be, I'm no longer going to produce music. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to learn how to program AI and I'm going to get hired by SUNO. Just like back in the late 90s, mid 2000s, during the when the computer, the home computer came on board and everything, people saw where society was going, and they realized, hey, I need to get ahead of this thing. If everybody's going to have, if every home is going to have a computer, that's going to be income. But here, as if there's going to be a drawing down, if you will, of people who create their own music as a viable source of income. You need to start thinking about, where can I shift so I can still have a viable source of income? I think it would be in programming your own AI, or being a part of the computer programming. Get on the creation of the creator. Be a programmer for AI. But yeah, I know I'm rambling and everything, but every way you look at it, in the examples that I gave, yes, it is here. It's a beautiful thing. Humans, we can't compete with it. We can't. And also, though, I also forgot to mention, there's also the aspect of this AI music, the production quality is so pristine. We will always be second best. I'm not saying that the SUNO songs will evoke as much emotion as a human. No, I don't believe that's the case. I believe a human song would evoke more emotion, because that emotion comes through on their songs through their flaws. The crackling of the voice, the choking up of the voice if you're crying, the goosebump factor and everything. But as far as the consumer is concerned, on the consumption end, the bar has been set so high. We're going to be second best to that bar now. That's another factor. The bar has been raised and expected as a standard. We can't compete with that. A computer, that SUNO program, has so many more resources that allows it to consistently achieve that bar, that we as humans, we can't achieve that. We can't. All right. If you lasted this long, I'm sorry for the rant. Bottom line is, SUNO, it's incredible. It's a beautiful thing. It now allows everybody to be a star. But the sad thing, it has allowed everybody to stop creating. Thanks for watching.